Let's get this started. Okay, if you've been here before, you get to hear it a second time. Welcome to our local League of Women Voters 2025 Candidates Forum. My name is Nancy Goldberg, and I'm the chair of the leadership team of the League of Women Voters. Our league is proud to be a part of the history of Highland Park that began 97 years ago, in 1928, just 8 years after the ratification of the 19th Amendment, giving women the right to vote. Our league provides ongoing voter registration. We have a voter registrar out in the hallway, by the way, educational programs, issue advocacy, and lobbying at state and national levels, and candidate forums and voter guides for local elections every 2 years. At our league's annual meeting last summer, I announced that the person who had led our candidates forums for many years, Elaine Adler, was going to take a hiatus, and I needed somebody to step up and to run a candidates forum. Janet Crebiel walked up to me after the meeting and said, "I'm there, I want something significant to do." So we were very, very fortunate. A little bit about Janet. Janet's a retired architect and an active artist. She loves travel, and she and her husband Henry spend considerable time in Italy. In addition to the league, she is a 30-year volunteer with Deborah's Place, an organization in Chicago that serves women who have been homeless. She is active in her church and plays in the bell choir. Please welcome our Candidates Forum Chair, Janet Crebiel.
My job today is to introduce our moderator, and I wanted to first tell you that the moderator is not from the Highland Park-Highwood League, but rather the Lake Forest Lake Bluff League. The reason for that is part of our policy with League of Women Voters to be nonpartisan, so that she is not a constituent of those running for office today. So our moderator is Carol Ross. She's the president of the League of Women Voters of Lake Bluff, Lake Forest. She served on the Plan Commission and Architectural Board of Review in Lake Bluff. She's now a resident of Libertyville. When she's not engaged with architectural drawings, she is a trainer at Target. In addition to the league, she devotes volunteer time to Lake Bluff Open Lands and Green Drinks Libertyville. And with that, thank you all for coming, and I'll turn it over to Carol.
Thank you, Janet. Sitting in front of us, we see 3 candidates, all of whom are asking for your vote. Unfortunately, there is only one 2-year term available, and this is when the league does candidate forums, when we have contested elections. So thank you all for being here. I would also like to explain to you that we ask the candidates to speak directly to you. This is a forum, not a debate, so they will not be talking to each other. They will be talking to you about issues, we hope. So let's get started. Our first segment will be opening statements, and they have drawn lots to see who will go first. And they have 2 minutes for this. There are timers who will flash cards, and I hope the candidates will see the timers and will hopefully be able to fit into the 2 minutes opening. It's sometimes hard. So our first speaker will be Kim Stone.
Thank you. Thank you to the League for hosting this forum. The Highland Park League has been a significant force in educating people about voting and the importance of local elections. Problems at the national level have made people more aware of how important it is to maintain stable leadership locally. My experience and breadth of knowledge mean that I will hit the ground running, continuing the work I've been doing for our community. Long before I ever thought of serving on City Council, I was working on issues here in Highland Park, volunteering on commissions, advisory groups for the city, the Park District, and the school district. I'm a strong advocate and experienced leader. During my time on council, we have maintained a balanced budget and a AAA bond rating while reducing our greenhouse gas emissions and developing a long-term capital plan to efficiently maintain our roads and bridges. I've worked to make Highland Park a more walkable community and increase safety for pedestrians. This not only improves the environment, but it also makes Highland Park a nice place to live and makes our downtown more vibrant, which supports our small businesses and increases sales tax revenue, in turn keeping our property taxes as low as possible. In 2013, I proudly voted to enact Highland Park's assault weapons ban. I remain committed to advancing strong gun safety measures and taking action to protect our community, which is why I received the Gun Sense candidate certification from Moms Demand Action. I grew up in Highland Park and have a deep understanding of our community. I've developed a record of successful leadership on important issues and know how to build consensus and deal with tough issues in a practical way. In these times, it is more important than ever that our local government supports our values and keeps Highland Park an inclusive and welcoming community. We need to elect people with strong leadership skills and management experience, especially now. People who know how to successfully get things done at the city and work with our partners. I'm running for re-election so that I can continue to serve the residents of Highland Park. I hope I can count on your vote.
Thank you. Speaking next will be Jonathan Center.
The time is now for a new leader in City Council, one with fresh perspectives, unique skills, and innovative ideas to unleash the tremendous untapped potential of our community. I wake up every morning grateful to have the opportunity to raise my children in this community, the same one that I grew up in. And I wake up every morning excited about potentially having the opportunity to make Highland Park the premier destination on the North Shore. I'm focused on the following 3 areas. Business revitalization. Yes, there's been momentum, but we have a long way to go. I know the current administration loves to talk about 94% occupancy. Let's look at the mix of the tenancy. Let's look at the fact that we don't have experiential options. We need more diverse opportunities. Fiscal responsibility and oversight. Yes, I'm proud of the fact that the city has a AAA bond rating, but why isn't anybody asking why over the past decade the increase in property tax revenue has materially outpaced the increase in aggregate inflation? And lastly, this world is a divisive place. There's no place at all for that in Highland Park. I want a connected community where we all feel safe, welcome, and united. I am the candidate to bring these critically diverse skills and background to the council in order to address all these issues. As a CFO, I'm deeply strategic and understand how small businesses operate. As a CPA with over 10 years of experience at the global accounting firm Ernst & Young, I understand how to prudently use financial resources and how to spot financial inconsistencies. And as a parent of young children, I'm in it for the long haul. I have motivation for today, tomorrow, and the day when my kids potentially return back home to the town that they grew up in, just like I did, carrying on the history and tradition that we all want to be proud of. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for putting this on. Thank you to Councilmember Stone and Mr. Cullither for being next to me. And thank you to all of you, the residents, for taking the time to be educated in who you envision leading Highland Park forward. I look forward to the discussion ahead.
Thank you. Our third candidate presenting opening remarks is Kevin Cullither.
I want to thank you, and I want to thank everyone who showed up today in the League of Women Voters. I am Kevin Cullither. My wife and I and our 3 children moved here in 2011 because it had a vital downtown. It had wonderful parks and natural resources. It has great schools. And it has a welcoming community. And that is what we have found over the last approximately 13 and a half years. In that time, I have served on the city as a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals, and 3 years of that as the chair, having been appointed by the mayor and the council. In that role, I have gotten to see what people are doing in your neighborhoods when they wish to age in place or take care of a disabled child. I have seen what they have needed to do to their homes in order to work from home and educate from home during a pandemic. We have opportunities in Highland Park that are phenomenal, but our comprehensive plan is 25 years old. Think about that. What business operates on a 25-year-old plan? Developers and business owners look and they do their research, and when they see a 25-year-old comprehensive plan that has roadblocks for opening up new businesses and makes it more difficult for building new residences, there are issues. We can encourage development while at the same time decreasing the carbon footprint being emitted based on the new homes that are being built. So I propose that we take our comprehensive plan, use it to engage the community bring people together and move forward for the next 10 to 15 years.
Okay, thank you very much. We are now going to move into a slightly different format. The candidates had the opportunity to present these opening remarks. Now we're going to take audience questions, so these will be a surprise. The first responder will be Jonathan Center, and we have a question that actually segues nicely from some of your statements. As happens, sometimes there are multiple questioners on this subject, so excuse me while I make the question a little bit long. How do you think our city council can assist in retaining existing businesses while attracting new ones? Additionally, your audience would like to know about vacant storefronts specifically and restaurants specifically.
Plain and simple, we've fallen behind our neighbors. And if we don't do something about it quickly, we're missing out on what I'm going to call a generational opportunity to take advantage of population patterns where people are migrating out of the city into suburban areas. We want Highland Park to be #1 on anyone's list who is looking to move to the North Shore. We must adapt to a changing business and an economic landscape where people are looking to work, live, and play all in the same place. We need experiential options for young families so that we can be the host of birthday parties and celebrations, not losing our residents to Northbrook, Vernon Hills, Glenview, and the like. Over the past several months, I've had a great opportunity to speak to current business owners. And I've learned the following. We're overregulated, permitting and approval processes are inefficient, redundant, and costly, and working with the city is confusing and frustrating. We have to shift the script. We need the first thing to come out of our business owners' mouths to be how easy it is to do business in Highland Park and how supportive the city is at all costs. Achieving profitability as a small business is hard enough, let alone with the headwinds of unnecessary costs and red tape from the city. I look forward to the opportunity to rolling up my sleeves and being an advocate for our business community, helping to stabilize our tax base and to increase in our marketability to current residents, prospective residents, and visitors alike.
Thank you. The next responder will be Kevin Cullender.
Thank you. I'm going to come back to the discussion of the city's comprehensive plan. In developing our comprehensive plan, we as a city need to look at what our neighbors are doing. As I've been knocking on doors and talking to residents, they realize that the Northbrook Court area will be developed. They are worried about, within Highland Park, the Petco Toys R Us building and what that more or less vacant parcel looks like as an entrance to Highland Park from Deerfield. But they also realize that we sort of need to understand that what we put there will be competing against whatever is done at Northbrook Court or if, Deerfield or Lake Forest. So they understand that they go to other communities to shop or to dine, and they want to make sure we're doing it right. So what I have heard from residents is that we need to really look at how do we attract businesses to Highland Park. And I believe what we need is a sort of a one-stop shop. I've worked with municipal organizations previously where they had a point person generally in public works or economic development who walks the businesses through every phase of their development. Thank you.
Okay, and next to respond will be Kim Stone.
Thanks. I'm proud of the work that we've done during my time on the City Council to put in place policies and upgrade our infrastructure to support businesses. In 2024, there were 55 new businesses that opened in town, and I know this came up before, but the occupancy rate is 94% for retail space and 90% for office space. So we really are on the right track, the data shows. We've increased efficiency, we've reduced the time required for permits and approvals, and this helps strike a balance, making sure that reviews are conducted as quickly as possible, while also ensuring that development is undertaken in a thoughtful way and in keeping with city standards. We upgraded the streetscapes downtown and in the Ravinia Business District to make them more attractive. We've brought in events, provided financial incentives and technical assistance to bring in new restaurants and businesses, and to enable existing businesses to expand and update update their spaces. My work to make Highland Park more walkable helps our businesses, and electric vehicle charging has been demonstrated to support businesses. I advocated for the addition of public charging in the downtown Highland Park area. We're on the right track, and I'm proud of the work we've done as a member of City Council to put in place policies and upgrades to infrastructure to support our businesses.
Thank you very much. We'll be moving on to a new question, and I apologize for the rotation order. It might have looked like we were skipping Kim that time, but actually we're giving each of the candidates a chance to speak first. So on to a new question. Our first responder will be Kevin Culliford. Here is a question that says, there are questions circulating about town regarding switching from an at-large based council to a ward system. What do you think are the pros and cons of each system?
Right now, I've heard this from a lot of residents. Right now, 6 of our 7 members of City Council reside east of St. John's Avenue. Geographically, most of the residents do not live east of St. John's Avenue. The people on the west and the people on the north do not feel represented by our current makeup of council. Both of my colleagues here live east of St. John's. I am the only one in the race among either the 4-year or the 2-year seats who lives west. I live in Chantilly, which is very different than living east of St. John's. What I have heard in knocking on doors in the western and the northern areas of the city is that they are very receptive to a ward system because they believe that when issues come up at Fort Sheridan, as did with parking, or University Avenue with regards to a potential sidewalk, or even Green Bay Road or the Solo Cup Factory, that it would be beneficial to have a member of City Council from those neighborhoods who they can talk to and understands the traffic patterns and other issues in those neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next responder will be Kim Stone.
Thanks. I'm currently the furthest north person on the City Council and the only person in my neighborhood. We've worked hard in Highland Park to unite the community and brought people together, especially in light of the shooting. And all of us represent everybody. I feel a special responsibility to represent the north side since I'm the furthest north on the council, but I do take questions and help provide answers and facilitate solutions for people all over Highland Park, which I think is important. Our infrastructure decisions are made based on data. We do studies of the pavement quality, for instance, to figure out and prioritize which roads should be repaved. It's not like you get one in each ward. You do them based on the condition of the roads. So we use that actual data. Wards in Chicago, I looked this up, have about 50,000 people each. Highland Park has 30,000 people total. You divide that by 6, then you take that number and you divide it further in terms of the number of people who are old enough and registered to vote. You don't have a lot of people in each of those wards, and I think it would make it difficult to identify people to run in every different district. But I do think that we are one community, and I think that representing everybody is really important.
All right, thank you very much. Our next speaker will be Jonathan Center on the same question.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting question. I know the community previously had a ward system, and I'd like to understand what worked and what didn't from the historical perspective to understand why we went away from that to begin with. I think having representation from all corners of the community is absolutely critical. There's no question, Kevin's right, the needs of the north and the east and the south and the west are different. And we should make sure that there is appropriate representation to ensure that all aspects of city government are addressing the needs of all the residents, no matter where they live. I think this leads nicely into sort of the concept that I'm talking about of having a connected community, and also the concept of affordability for young families. We definitely want to make sure that we got the right policies and opportunities in place to increase our pipeline of potential homeowners, making it attractive for our potentially young residents to join us especially as they're migrating from the city. I would love to think about whether we can have any type of property tax relief or other ways to incentivize young families to who are first-time homeowners in the suburbs to join us in Highland Park and you know, whatever part of the community that's in. So I would love to learn more, learn from the past, and sort of think through how we can best make sure that everybody has representation.
Okay, thank you very much. Resetting again, we have a rather long question, so I apologize, Kim. It may take me an extra seconds or two to get this one out, but we have 3 questions and 3 handwritings, and I apologize if I mangle your particular question, but we'll begin with, if elected, will you commit to prioritizing infrastructure improvements that enhance bicycle safety, including bike lanes or other traffic calming measures? If not, how can you ensure safe biking for families? And we also have a question that asks about connection, community, access, and environment. And should you reconsider a bike lane on Green Bay Road so we're not stopping at the business district? And we have a third person who goes even more macro and would like to know how you can promote pedestrian and cycling connections between the neighborhoods. Can you make the highway and golf courses less of a barrier?
Okay, a lot of information there. So I said your name was going to come up, Peggy. The reason that I first ran for city council was because I had been working with Peggy Lumley to advocate for a complete streets policy here in Highland Park, and that we worked on that for 4 or 5 years, I believe, before the city actually passed the policy. In the meantime, I got so frustrated by how long it was taking that I ended up running for city council. But a complete streets policy basically says that all users have equal rights to the roads, whether they be pedestrians, cyclists, drivers, no matter their age or ability. And I believe that all the streets should be maintained for everybody, that we should have bike facilities, that we should have pedestrian facilities, that our roads should be well maintained. We have done a lot of work since I've been on the council, and I have led a lot of this work to make things more walkable and bikeable. We've put in curb bump outs in some of the areas around downtown. We've got some pedestrian islands in some of the street areas. We've got a side path on Clavey Road. We've got a side path on Walker that have been added. We've filled gaps in the sidewalk network. So we've been doing a lot to try and make things better for pedestrians and cyclists. And as I said, I believe that that's good for the city for connectivity. It's good for the city in terms of business development. When people are biking or walking by the shops, they're stopping and they're dining and shopping rather than just driving by. So I'm fully in support of bike and pedestrian facilities, and that's been what I've focused on during a lot of my tenure on council.
Okay, I'm glad to repeat questions if you like, but in general, this question is about community, connectivity, biking, pedestrian. Our next responder will be Jonathan Center.
Yeah, I mean, thoughtful infrastructure development for connectedness is critical for the longevity of our city. The 2nd Street Cityscape project looks fantastic, but also we need to communicate better with the business owners, right? It was really impactful, especially during their busy season, and so I think we need to take some learnings from how that project went for future projects. Another example is the Clavey Road project. Looks really nice. There were some issues with the state. We need to do better in communication and ensure that those projects go more smoothly. But let's take a step back. These investments and the infrastructure focus needs to be part of a master plan, like Kevin said. We need to ensure that they're purposeful and strategic. It would ensure that we have a more connected, inclusive community, and that enables that work, live, play mentality that I was speaking about. We have to make sure that we're not just doing projects in a silo, but rather thinking about how they work relative to the future growth of our community and how we're trying to enable that alongside our business investments as well. And as a father of young children, I'm looking at this, you know, as a generational opportunity as we're thinking about these 15, 20, 25-year projects to ensure that the city streets, sidewalks, and buildings are supporting us for years and years and years and for the purpose that we need them to for the next couple of decades. I really am committed to a thoughtful and strategic approach to ensure appropriate connectivity, ensuring that we can meet the needs of all of our citizens.
Thank you. And the third responder to the same question will be Kevin Cullither.
Thank you. Right now, the city has its comprehensive plan. which deals with the zoning districts and what can be built in the business districts. And then separate from that, there's Bike Walk Highland Park 2024, I believe. It all needs to be part of one. You can't have one plan over here and one plan over here and not have them integrated. So I believe we need to engage the citizens. I was at City Hall when they held all the meetings on biking on Green Bay Road. I was at the big meeting that they had here where I was, I believe, the final speaker, and I asked City Council to listen to their residents. That's all I said that day. Please listen to your residents. I believe we have an opportunity in developing our infrastructure and engaging the residents at the same time. So that is the purpose of my goal, my campaign here. It's that I really want to engage the residents in the discussion. When you go to a city hall meeting, there's the public comment section, but city council members can't respond. I believe we can have forums where city council members, even though it's a part-time job, spend their time, are willing to spend their time engaging with residents in a forum like this and trying to get to a consensus as far as how we want to move forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll be moving on to a new question now. And the first responder will be Jonathan Center. And the question is, how is your campaign funded? Specifically, have you accepted any large donations from individuals who own commercial property in Highland Park, or PACs, or corporations, or other entities with special interests in Highland Park? And if so, how will you ensure that those contributions do not influence your decision-making on the city council?
I've raised money individually as well as from a local political action committee that is committed to advancing the future of Highland Park. But I'm an independent candidate. I can share, a professional story where I was brought in as CFO, reporting to a founder of a business. He paid my salary. He was responsible for my growth. And not 1 month after I started work, I identified that that individual was stealing from his partner and investors. And while he tried to pull me aside and tell me, don't worry about that, we're going to do this together, we're going to build a big business together, I put my foot down and said, no. I'm going to do what's right, I'm going to stand up what's morally correct, and I did everything I could to make sure that justice was served, that all of the money that he stole was returned, and even though it was not necessarily the right thing for me personally, I pledged to do that as a leader. Always stand up for what's right. I don't care where the money comes from. That's how I live, and that's how I will lead.
Thank you. A response from Kevin Coulter, please.
Thank you. Like John, I received a $1,000 startup donation from HP-HWD. I believe that was a great opportunity for resources within the Highland Park community to get my campaign going. That has paid for signs, that has paid for door hangers. Other than that donation, I have received one donation from a member of City Council. All other funding for this campaign is coming from my wife. Because I am knocking on doors Monday through Friday, Saturday and Sunday, not taking any income while she's paying for our utilities and living expenses. So for my wife, thank you. That is a great in-kind contribution to allow me to knock on work. And I am going to be honest here, based on the estimates of what I have calculated out right now, John, and I've looked at this state Board of Elections site, John has received nearly $10,000 from one couple. That will be enough for him to send you a mailing in the next 4 weeks. I don't have those kinds of resources. So you're going to be seeing my face at your doors. You may see a door hanger when I leave, but this is a low budget operation and I ask you all for your votes. Thank you.
All right, and our third response will come from Kim Stone.
Thank you. My commitments to the people of Highland Park and my campaign is funded by many individuals rather than a few large donors. I'm the only candidate in this race to have committed to not take donations from political action committees, corporations, or anyone affiliated with the fossil fuel industry. I'm also proud to have received the endorsement of Citizen Action Illinois, which works to eliminate the influence of money in politics, among other priorities. Campaign donations should not influence one's decisions, and by accepting smaller donations from many individuals, it's clear that no one person or special interest has any undue influence on my decisions and my votes. I'm an independent voice on City Council working for the residents of Highland Park. I want to also say that Kevin referenced campaign finance reports. They are available on the state website, on the Board of Elections website for anyone to see, so they can verify any of the information that's come up. I've also been frugal in reusing my yard signs year after year, so we haven't had to have that expense more than once. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all for your candor. After that very personal question, we're going to go macro with this one. Our first responder will be Kevin Cullither, and the audience questioner asks, what is your view on Highland Park's sanctuary city status? And how does that respect federal law and state law?
This is a nation built on immigrants. My great-grandparents moved here from Ireland. Going further back on my mother's side, the Germans moved here from Germany. My middle name is Kessler because my mother was a Kessler. Not related to art because we don't believe his family mined the mines of eastern Pennsylvania. I believe, there is a federal law and there are state laws and there are local laws. I believe that it is important for us, and I believe this community is open and welcoming. We have certainly seen, immigrants within Highland Park, and they have flourished in our schools, using our park district, and assimilating into the community. I think that is what is valuable in Highland Park, is that we do have a mix of cultures. The importance to me on what is currently going on nationally is I think it would be a drain on our local resources if our police officers had to work side by side on immigrant issues. I think our police are well-funded, well-trained. They do what we as citizens want them to do. And if the feds wish to come in, that is their choice.
Okay, thank you. Next responder will be Kim Stone.
Thanks. Highland Park is not a sanctuary city. We have made an intentional decision not to become a target of the federal government in that regard. But we do take pride in being a diverse and welcoming community. That's something I've always loved about Highland Park, having grown up here, is that we had a range of people from different cultures, different races, ethnicities, and income levels. Highland Park has put in place a statement against hate. The City Council felt very strongly about that. I personally purchased the rainbow flag that we fly at City Hall during Pride Month. We passed an ordinance to enable gender-neutral bathrooms before the state even updated their plumbing code to allow that. In 2018, our police department was the first to put in place the shared principles of public safety, which our police chief coordinated with the NAACP, which affirms our commitment to fair and equitable policing. And these principles are reflected in the training of our police officers. And we're constantly evaluating policies and fees to help make things more equitable. We have right now an assessment to determine how to provide opportunities to better support low-income individuals. We're implementing objectives from a recent transit study to help provide better mobility for people of all ages and abilities, and an organizational equity assessment as well. So if reelected, I would continue to be a strong advocate on the City Council for working to create an equitable and just community.
Thank you. Our final response will come from Jonathan Center.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of the remarks that Kevin and Councilmember Stone are discussing. I think the diversity and inclusiveness of Highland Park is critical, and I think we should continue to lean into that to ensure that everyone can safely enjoy the amenities that our city has to offer. I think we have a tremendous history here, arts and culture and diversity, and that's what makes us all, that's what makes our community so special. But the world is a complicated and scary place right now, and I'm happy that both individuals here sort of talked about the police as well in our community, because I think our police has done a tremendous job. I think specifically we had an issue at Congressman Schneider's house, and I think the city did a tremendous job of responding to that and utilizing the zoning laws effectively to ensure that we're protected moving forward. And I'm deeply committed to continuing to support our first responders. I love that our city has public safety as one of its core pillars. I support that with every fiber of my being. We all know what happened here a couple of years ago, and I think that has changed us forever. But I absolutely support the continued culture and diversity this time.
Thank you for your thoughtful comments on this subject. So I'm sorry we can't ask all the wonderful questions in front of me. This will be our final question, and we're going to bring it home and talk about good governance. The question that will go to Kim Stone first is, what does the City Council do well, and in what areas do you think improvements could be made? So let's start with what's done well.
Done well. So with what's going on nationally, I think it's vital that we have stability at home and elect experienced leaders to City Council. After years of involvement in our community, I ran for council to prioritize environmental issues, make streets safer for everyone, and use my experience in nonprofit management to help our community. I've been a strong advocate for our residents, and I have a record of success meeting the needs of Highland Park residents. During my time on council, we have maintained a balanced budget and a AAA bond rating. We've put in place a strong greenhouse gas emissions reduction goal, built a new fire station. Our retail occupancy rate is 94%, which is a 5% increase since the pandemic, thanks in part to the work I've done over the years to change zoning to enable experiential uses and more multi-unit buildings in the downtown area, which also enable people to stay in Highland Park as they age. We're developing a long-term capital plan for maintaining our bridges, our sewers, our water infrastructure. We've filled gaps in the sidewalk network, achieved recognition as a bicycle-friendly community, streamlined permitting for solar installations, updated streetscapes, supported local businesses, and more. I'll continue to bring new ideas to the city. My involvement in national and regional groups, such as the Local Climate Policy Network and Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus, have enabled me to learn about good policies that are in place elsewhere and to bring these to Highland Park. My knowledge of how the city operates and experience getting things done is crucial, which is why I'm the only candidate supported by our Congressman Brad Schneider.
Okay, a response from Jonathan Center, please.
I'm deeply concerned with some of what we've seen. A lot of self-interested politics, a lot of questionable timing on decisions. I know, there was a question earlier about the Green Bay Road Trail or bike path, and I mean, the devastation that would have done from an environmental perspective. That was all driven by a bike lobby. The University Avenue project that went for 7 years, and the thousands of dollars that were wasted for a project that was opposed by roughly 2/3 of impacted homeowners. Not to mention the latest liquor license situation, where the majority of members of the council stood behind the guise of good governance, when in reality it was excessive diligence and stalling tactics for candidate suppression. The matter was brought on the agenda not 10 days after the passing of the deadline for a potential write-in candidate to run in this very election. So I'm being elected to serve as a representative of the people. Serving on city council is a privilege, one that I do not intend to take lightly, and one where I will listen, act transparently, and put the community's interests above politics. Highland Park deserves better, and that's what I will represent.
Okay, thank you. The final response to this question. Thank you. We're going to move on. Thank you. Final response to this question goes to Kevin Cullither.
Thank you. I do believe the council, in the time that I have been living in Highland Park, has accomplished a lot. We have seen a lot of revitalization in downtown when you figure out how long the Saks building sat empty. Unfortunately, at the other end of the city, on Central, we lost a block that had some businesses in it as well as a movie theater, and it now sits empty. So there are good and bad that have happened, and we can admit that. My goal here is to bring the community together, to be a bridge within City Council among the factions that have developed, and to get people working together towards a common goal. And that common goal is ensuring that Highland Park is the best community from infancy through being middle-aged and aging in place. We need to have policies in place and programs in place, and that encourages the community and working with our other governmental entities to ensure that there's better coordination. I mean, I heard today people were talking about the fact you can only use Michael's catering in this facility, and that has priced out people and have forced them to go elsewhere. So there are lots of issues. I promise to be a council person with an open door policy and meet with anyone who wants to talk on a regular basis. Thank you.
All right, thank you for those answers. And with a deep cleansing breath, we're going to go on to our final segment. That was the last live question. So the candidates have had an opportunity to prepare some final thoughts, and we will begin in reverse order from when we began. And the first speaker will be Kevin Cullither.
Thank you. I will make this as short and sweet as possible. I am here today because I have a background in public administration. I have experience and knowledge running programs for municipal organizations. I have, because of that, I have taken courses in municipal finance, utility rates, and governance. I have taught courses in local governance for municipal organizations. That is something neither of my colleagues can say. Governance is important, and we need to look at the governance of Highland Park, ensure that we are doing everything the best way possible, and that we are bringing citizens together to hear what you want for the future of this community. And I believe we can do that through engaging the residents and updating our city's comprehensive plan to ensure that in 25 years we still have a vital downtown business district, and that it is growing the way you and I would like it to grow for future generations. So with that, I will ask for your vote. I will ask that if you would care for a yard sign, let me know. And finally, if anyone has a checkbook, I'd be happy for you to open it. Thank you.
Well, following that will be Kim Stone.
Okay. Highland Park needs experienced leaders who can move us forward even with the chaos going on in Washington. We're hearing daily about cuts to important government services and even risks to funding for roads and bridges locally. We have an opportunity to rise to the occasion, and we need people who are knowledgeable about how to get things done. If we want clean air and water and a community where all are welcomed and feel safe, we must act locally. I'm running for re-election because I care deeply about this community, and I want to continue the progress that we've made together. As a lifelong Highland Park resident, I'm committed to ensuring that our city remains financially strong, environmentally responsible, and a great place for people of all ages to live and thrive. During my time on council, we've maintained a balanced budget and AAA bond rating, allowing us to invest in infrastructure, public safety, and a more vibrant downtown. I've led efforts to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, expand renewable energy options, and strengthen affordable housing policies, because I believe that sustainability and smart growth go hand in hand. Local government has a direct impact on people's daily lives, and I take that responsibility seriously. With your support, I will continue making thoughtful, forward-looking decisions that protect what makes Highland Park special while preparing for the future. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today, and thank you to the League for hosting this forum. I hope I can count on your vote on April 1st.
Okay, final remarks. Folks love the enthusiasm, but we're not done yet. So we will have final remarks from one more speaker, from Jonathan Center.
I'm so excited about the opportunity we have here and the untapped potential of Highland Park. As I talked about in my opener and throughout the day, I'm committed to revitalizing the business community, enhancing fiscal responsibility and oversight, and building a fully connected and inclusive community. I'm a CFO, a CPA, and a parent of young children in this community that are in it for the long haul. I am the candidate to bring these critically diverse skills to the council. I am the fresh voice that our community needs and deserves. Also, I recognize none of us can do this alone. I'm energized by the opportunity to work with those who will be my fellow council members in helping to make positive change. And to take the directive of the will of the people, always putting their interests and desires first. As I mentioned, I grew up here. My parents still live in the house that they built when I was born. I sit up here with the hopes to pay homage to them and the generation before me, while actively representing positive change for the next generation. As I leave you today, I ask you, the voter, what legacy do you want to leave for those that will follow behind you? Vote Center on April 1st. Thank you again to the League of Women Voters and all of you for taking time today to learn about all of us. Thank you to Councilmember Stone and Culliter.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
Vote Center.
Thank you to the candidates and to Carol and to all of you especially for coming today. We have one more segment this afternoon, which is for School Board District 112, and you are more than welcome to stay and participate in that as well. Thank you.